Hello, everybody. Yesterday, we lost horrifically. This is so loud. Hold on. Hold on. There we go. That's better. We lost so bad that now I'm being punished. I am going to sit here and read the entirety of a Minecraft novel called The Island by the dude who made World War Z. I'm not going to look at chat. I'm not going to look at the view count. I'm just going to read to you. And the stream ends when I'm done. So why don't we all get started here. This is Mojang's Minecraft The Island by Max Brooks, best-selling author of World War Z. Oh, we got a nice little picture of you can't really see it, but it's a squid. It's cute. We gotta flip a couple pages. Ooh, the table of contents, that's important. There are 22 chapters. Okay, I don't believe this part. It says the following is based on true events. Who am I? Who knows? Maybe. Introduction. I wouldn't expect you to believe the world I'm about to describe. Although you're reading these words means you're already here. Maybe you've been in a world for a while, but just discovered the island. Or maybe, by the way, I'm like pretty much dyslexic, so this is gonna be a bit. Hold on. Brendan, I'm reading. Okay, please. I'm sorry, that was not about the stream. I thought he was watching. Doesn't matter. If you are confused, alone, and scared out of your mind, then you're exactly where I was on my first day. This world can seem like a maze, and sometimes like a bully. But the truth is that it's a teacher, and its trials are just lessons in disguise. That's why I've left this book behind, so my journey can help you with yours. Chapter 1. Never give up. Drowning! I woke up underwater, deep underwater, and this was my first conscious thought. A cold, dark. Where was the surface? Oh, is my iPad not connected? It's not. I just found out my iPad is not connected to the Wi-Fi. And you know what that means? We will be right back. We will be right back. apologies, dear viewers. My internet went out for a minute just for the iPad. I don't know why, but that's okay. Let's read a little more. So where were we? Right. Where was the surface? I kicked in all directions, trying to find my way up. I twisted and turned, and then I saw it. A light, dim, pale, and far away. Instinctively, I shot up for it, and quickly noticed that the water was around me was growing brighter. That had to be the surface, the sun. But how could the sun be square? I don't know. I must be seeing things. Maybe some trick of the water. Who cares? How much air do I have left? Just get to it. Swim. My lungs ballooned, little bubbles escaping from my lips, racing me for the distant light. I kicked and clawed the water like a cage. Animal. This is the first page. This is not going well. Now I could see it. A ceiling of ripples coming closer. With each desperate stroke, closer, but still so far away. My body ached. My lungs burned. Swim, swim, crack. My body writhed with a sudden jolt of pain shot from my toes to eyes. My mouth opened and screamed. In a choked scream. I reached for a glow, grabbing for a breath for life. I exploded into the cool, clean air. I coughed, I choked, I wheezed, I laughed, breathing. For a moment, I just savored the experience, closing my eyes and letting the sun warm my face. But when I opened my eyes, I couldn't believe them. The sun was square. I blinked hard. The clouds, too, instead of round, puffy cotton balls, these thin, rectangular objects floated lazily above me. You're still seeing things, I thought. You hit your head when you fell off the boat, and now you're a little dazed. But did I fall off a boat? I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember anything, in fact. How I got here, or even where here was. Help me, I shouted, scanning the horizon for a ship, or a plane, or even a speck of land. Please, somebody, anybody, help! All I got was silence. All I could see was water and sky. I was alone. Almost. Something splashed inches from my face. The flash of tentacles and thick, black, grayish head. I yelled, kicking backwards. It looked like a squid, but square, like everything else in this strange place. The tentacles turned to me, opening wide. I gazed right into a yawning red mouth hinged with razor-white teeth. Get out of here, I hollered, mouth dry, heart pounding. I splashed clumsily away from the creature. I didn't have to. At that moment, the tentacles closed, blasted the squid in the other direction. I floated there, frozen, treading water for a few seconds, until the animal disappeared in the deep. What? That's when I let out a long, throaty, tension-drained ugh. I took another deep breath, then another, then a whole lot more. Finally, my heart settled down, my limbs stopped jerking, and for the first time since I woke up, my brain switched on. Okay, I said aloud, you're way out on a lake, or ocean, or whatever. No one's coming to save you, and you can't tread water forever. I did a slow 360 turn, hoping I'd see a thread of a coastline I'd missed before. Nothing. In desperation, I tried one last scan of the sky. No planes, not even a thin white trail. What sky doesn't have those? One with a square sun and rectangle clouds. The clouds. I noticed all the clouds were steadily moving in one direction, away from the rising sun, due west. As good as anywhere, I said, giving another deep sigh, and started swimming slowly west. It was much to go on. It wasn't much to go on, but I figured the wind might help me along a little bit, or at least wouldn't slow me down. And if I went north or south, the breeze might slowly blow me into an arc and I'd end up swimming in circles. I didn't know if that was really true. I still don't. I mean, come on, I just woken up, probably with some kind of massive head injury, at the bottom of the ocean, and was really, really hard not to end up back there. Just keep going, I told myself. Focus on what's ahead. I began to notice how weird my swimming was. Not strokes, pause, stroke, motion, but the sense of gliding across the water with my limbs along for the ride. Head injury, I thought, trying not to imagine how serious that might be. One good thing I noticed was I didn't seem to be getting tired. Isn't swimming supposed to be exhausting? Don't your muscles burn and quit after a while? Adrenaline, I thought. I tried not to imagine that emergency gas tank running out. But it would, sooner or later. I'd lose steam, cramp up, go from swimming to treading water, from treading water to floating, and of course, I'd try the rest, bobbing up and down, conserve energy, but how long could I do that? How long could I before the cold of the water finally got to me? How long before chattering teeth, body shivering, I finally sank down into the darkness? Not yet, I blurted out. I'm not giving up. Shouting out loud was enough to perk me up. Keep focused, keep going. And I did. I kept swimming with all my might. I also tried to be uber aware of my surroundings. Hopefully, I would spot the mast of a ship or a shadow of a helicopter, but at the very least, I would take my mind off my current predicament. I noticed that the water was calm, and this gave me something to feel good about. No waves meant no resistance, which meant I could swim farther, right? I also noticed the water was fresh, not salty, which meant that I had to be in a lake instead of an ocean. The lakes are smaller than oceans. Okay, big lakes is just as dangerous as an ocean, but come on. You probably with me trying to look on the bright side. I also noticed that I could see the bottom. It was deep, don't get me wrong. You could sink a pretty decent office building and never see the top, but it wasn't bottomless, like the ocean is supposed to be. I could also see it wasn't level, with tons of little valleys and hills. That was when, off to my right, I noticed one of the hills had grown so tall and disappeared beyond the horizon. Did it break the surface? I turned northwest, I guess, and swam in a straight line for that hill. And before I knew it, the hill grew into an underwater mountain, and a few seconds later, I actually saw its top sprout above the water. That's gotta be land, I thought, trying not to get my hopes up. It could be a mirage, though, a trick of light or something missed, or when I saw the tree. At least I thought it was a tree, because from the distance, it could make out a dark green angular mass perched up top a brown line. Excitement propelled me like a torpedo. Eyes locked forward. I soon saw other trees dotted a tan beach, and then suddenly, green, brown slope on a hill. Land, I shouted. Land! I made it. Warm, firm, solid ground. A few strokes and I'd be there. A wave of total relief washed over me. And just like that, and just like a real wave, it washed right out. I barely had a second to celebrate when the island came in full view. By the time I reached shore, I was confused as I woke as just... Excuse me. By the time I reached the shore, I was just as confused as the moment I woken up. The island was square, or rather, everything was made of squares. Everything. Sand, dirt, rocks, even those things I thought were trees, everything was a combination of cubes. Okay, I said, refusing to believe what I was seeing. I just need a minute is all. Just a minute. Standing in waist-high water, breathing, blinking, I waited for my eyes to clear, and any minute I'd see those harsh angles turn to soft, curvy normalness. They didn't. Gotta be a head wound, I said, wading ashore. No problem. I just gotta make sure the bleeding. You're not bleeding too bad, and instinctively my hand went up to find the supposed injury. And when I came to the front of my face, I gasped. What? There was a fleshy cube at the end of my rectangular arm. A cube that wouldn't open no matter how hard I tried. Where's my hand? I shouted, my voice rising in panic. Head swimming, throat closing. I nervously looked down at the rest of me. Brick-shaped feet, rectangular legs, a shoebox-shaped torso, all covered in painted-on clothes. What's wrong with me? I hollered to an empty beach. This isn't real, I screamed, running back and forth, trying to tear those painted clothes off my body. Hyperventilating, I rushed back to the water, desperate for the calming reflection of my face. Nothing greeted me. Where am I? I shouted in the shimmering sea. What is this place? I thought of the water, of how I woken up. But had I? This is a dream, I said, relief breaking into a panicked voice, reaching the only thing I could think of. Of course! And for the second, I almost pulled myself together. Just a crazy dream, and soon enough, you'll wake up and what? I tried to imagine waking up in my home, in my life, but it was all gone. I could remember the real world of soft, round shapes and people's houses, and cars and lives. I just couldn't remember it. I couldn't remember me in it. My vision narrowed as an invisible fist closed around my lungs. Who am I? Tension pulsed up through my veins and neck. I could feel the skin on my face, roots of my teeth, dizzy, nauseous. I staggered back against the hole. Hold on. This is the most annoying thing. It keeps trying to turn off. We don't want that. We don't want that. What was my name? What did I look like? Was I old? Was I young? Looking down at my boxy body, I could not determine anything. Was I a man or a woman? Was I even human? What am I? Well, we know he exists because he thought that. He thinks, therefore he is. The thread snapped. My mind collapsed. Where? Who? What? The final question. Why? I screamed up to the bright square sun. Why can't I remember? Why am I different? Why am I here? Why is all of this happening to me? Why? All I got back was silence. No birds, no waves, not even a rustle of the wind through the angular excuses for trees. Nothing but pure, punishing silence. And then, grrrp. A sound so small, I wasn't sure I heard it. Grrrp. I definitely heard it that time, and felt it too. It was coming from inside me. My tummy was rumbling. I'm hungry. That's all I needed to break down into a spiral. Something to do. Something simple and clear to focus on. Next to breathing, there's nothing more clearer and simple than eating. Grrp, growled my stomach, as if to say, I'm waiting. I shook my head violently, trying to get the blood back in my cheeks, and looked down at my body to see if I had anything to eat. I had been so shocked the first time I'd seen myself that I might have missed something earlier. Maybe I had a waterproof phone in my pocket, or even a wallet with an ID. I didn't have either, or even pockets. But what I did find was a thin belt, painted the same color as my pants. Another reason I missed it was the first time, with 4 flat pouches on either side. Each pouch was empty, but going while going through them, I suddenly realized I could feel a slight pressure releasing gently on my back. I call it a backpack. But it didn't have any straps or hooks or anything that should have held in place. It was just stuck there, and like the belt and my pt1 clothes, I couldn't take it off. All I could do was reach back and swing it to the front. Crazy dream, I said, coming back to the only mental crutch I had. The packs inside was lined with 27 small pouches, and just like those on the belt, I also totally emptied. So much for taking inventory, I thought. A feeling of hunger grew constant. That meant foraging for food. I looked around for something, anything that remotely looked edible. At first, the only thing I could find that appeared to be 1 block high blades of rectangular grass. They grew in 1s and 2s on the green-covered dirt behind the beach. I reached down to sprouting right at my feet, but somehow I couldn't pick it up. Instead, I swiped clumsily in a rapid punching motion. Anxiety welled up in me again. It was one of the things that I had a strange-looking body. I tried again, missing the grass, and again, when I finally connected, my fist smashed the target into oblivion, and all I could do, and I do mean oblivion. The tall grass stalks didn't just fall over or break, they disappeared. One quick crushing noise, and poof, gone. Ah, come on! I pouted, looking at this angular appendage. Just work, will ya? For some shouting, pleading with my hand wasn't an answer. Neither was trying to repeat the same fruitless motion on an identical clump of grass. I heard, although I can't remember where, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result. I don't know if it's true for some people, but for me, it's pretty darn close. Just work, I grunted angrily, punching the grass like it had a swung first. Work, work, work! It was starting again, the mental slide. My mind was balancing on a thin tightrope at that moment. I really needed some kind of win. I didn't get one exactly, but I did break the cycle by accidentally, literally breaking the ground. On my 4th try, I hit so hard and for so long that I did destroy the little green blade, but also I knocked away a whole block of dirt beneath them. Whoa! I stammered, frustration replaced with curiosity. At first, I didn't see the block, just the block-sized hole I disappeared into. I peered into the divot and saw a cube floating at the bottom, actually hovering off the ground, and much smaller than it had been. I reached in to pick it up and didn't get halfway before it flew up at me. I stumbled back with a surprised, "Whoa!" and looked down at the cube in my hand. I felt the dirt, coarse and dry with a few little pebbles in it. I tried squeezing it in my hand and felt it give without crumbling. I brought it up to my face and sniffed. It smelled just like dirt. I sniffed again. Suddenly felt comforted. Everything was alien up until that point. Everything around me, including me. This wasn't. This was a sensation that was familiar. I could feel my neck muscles relaxing, my jaw unclenching. Hey, I'm not embarrassed to say that I took another 4 or 5 good, long, tranquilizing whiffs from that dirt block. I'm also not embarrassed to say, in between each inhale, I glanced over at my shoulder just to see that no one was looking. I won't say the experience made me better, but it gave me the confidence. I'm sorry, this part gets me. It gave me the confidence to try opening my fingers and drop the block on the ground. And it did, and I felt even better. Well, all right. If you can hear that, that's the cuckoo clock. Don't even worry. Well, all right, I exhaled. At least I had the power to drop things. Not a huge win, I know, but something. Some tiny bit of control. I watched the dirt cube hover over my feet for a second, then reached out to pick it up again. I didn't flinch the second time. It jumped at me. Okay, I said, taking a cautious breath. If I can drop you, maybe I can. I moved the cube down of one of my pouches on my belt and sighed deeply as it obediently dropped inside. Okay, so, I said, smiling down at my belt. Well, stuff. Dirt. At least shrinks small enough down when you carry it. Weird, but useful in this dream. I couldn't say world yet. It was still too fragile. Grrr, burbled my stomach, reminding me it was still there. Right, I said, as I took the cube back out from my belt. Since I can't eat you, I don't think I have a reason to carry you around. I held the shrunken box out to the hole where I dug it up, maybe a pace or two away. It jumped right out of my hand and swelled back into the ground in the original shape, and shaped into a place as if nothing had happened. Well, almost nothing. Digging it out did take off its green cover. This is an interesting story. I hummed and tried digging it up again. Sure enough, a few punches drove it right into my hand. When I put it down this time, I tried setting it next to the hole instead of inside it. Again, it sprang back to normal size, sitting securely on the ground. I hummed again, my newfound calm allowing the wheels to turn. Something about the setting of this block down in a new place reminded me of a buried memory. I don't think it was a specific memory to me, but rather to the not dream world. Something about little kids playing with blocks, making things, building. If everything here is made of blocks, I said, said to the newly replanted cube, and all of these blocks keep their shape, could I stack them into things I want to build? Grrr, came particularly angry, protested from down south. Right, I told my stomach, turning to the block and said, maybe later. I gotta eat. I figured I'd give the grass one more try before moving on. I'm glad I did. With the fifth attempt, a vanished clump of collection of hovering seeds. Finally, I thought. I tried picking them up. One weird minor quirk of this world, of this dream, was I could only grab all 6 seeds at the same time, and wasn't able to hold them individually, which was weird, and ridiculous, really major quirk was I wasn't able to consume them. My hand just froze there, inches from my mouth. It wouldn't let me eat. Really? I said, tired, and tried to move my face to my hand instead. That didn't work either. Like an invisible force field was hovering them apart. Really? I repeated sarcastically, feeling all the frustration and anger rising up. Fine, my arm cooked to throw the seeds away. What stopped me was the dirt block I've been experimenting with. Now, I'd set it down a few minutes ago, and the green cover top was missing. Now it was back. The turfy layer had regrown. Wow. That's just... wow. That fast, I thought, looking down at the seed. Do all plants grow that fast? Maybe I could try planting the seeds. Oh boy, did I try. I tried every way I could think of. I dropped the seeds onto the ground, but they just hovered. I punched them into the soil, and I just unearthed the block. And after setting the block down the newly positioned in a newly positioned above ground. I even tried pushing the seeds into the side. Nothing worked. Why won't I hissed through clenched teeth and stop myself? Going down the Y path would lead me right back to a full-blown meltdown. Keep going, I said in a huff. Don't give up. Dropping these seeds into a belt pouch, I desperately looked around for another option. Any other food source, any distraction. The trees! I ran over to the closest one and peel away any section of the bark. Do people eat bark? Maybe. I didn't think, but I couldn't. My hands wouldn't let me grab the light and dark striped brown cover. They also wouldn't let me climb the waist-thick trunk of square branches of small mini cube leaves. I didn't give up. I couldn't afford to. If this is a dream, then I just can fly up there and get some. My fist raised, eyes up, I leapt into the air and came down just as quick. But a crucial moment, suspended in midair, something truly magical happened. I tried punching the leaves above me, and even though they were a block or two away, I felt my fist impact. I began hesitantly striking above me. Can I reach? Surely enough, though my actual arm didn't stretch. From 4 full block lengths away, I could still hit the dappled cube above my head. I can reach! I shouted and began bashing the leaves, creeping incessantly faded with each empowered punch. Yeah, I belted as the first cube vanished, dropped a shiny, red, semi-rounded fruit into my hand. That's what I'm talking about. And this time, my body let me eat. Maybe this is the key. I thought, crunching on the fruit's crispy sweetness, and I felt the juice run down my throat. Maybe my hand will only let me eat what's edible. It might not have looked exactly like an apple, but it tasted like one, and now I thought the scent of earth was comforting. This new sensation was overpowering. I actually felt a sting at the corner of my eyes. Keep going, I said. An entire apple disappeared into my stomach. Never give up. Without realizing it, I learned something. Call it a mantra or a life lesson or whatever, but they were words to live by, and they'd be the first of many of this strange, wonderful journey. Never give up. That was chapter 1. We are now at chapter 2. I deserve a little refreshment. What did we think of that chapter, gang? Certainly an interesting way. Let me get my phone really quick. All right. Chapter 2. Panic drowns thought. Using my new power, I knocked out the other leaf blocks on the rest of the trees. I not only came away with 2 more apples, but a critical discovery about my belt pack. It happened right after the first apple. When I was boxing the leaves, instead of dropping fruit, I got a sapling. On strike again? I asked my frozen hand when it dropped the mini tree into my belt. Seconds later, I got a second one, and I absent-mindedly stuffed it into the same pouch. That's when I realized that they'd not only shrunk, but flattened and stacked themselves together like playing cards. Well, now, I smiled. That actually might be helpful. That turned out to be an understatement. By the time I'd finished stripping all the trees, I managed to get 12 compressed saplings into one compartment. And, I might add, at 0 weight. Looking over at the additional pouches in my pack, I thought, I can carry a whole warehouse of stuff, which means Which means, I scowled at my belt, my mood deflating like the stacked saplings. Until I can find stuff worth carrying, you're as helpful as a wind-powered fan. That's a good one. I think I'm gonna keep that one, actually. There's gotta be more apple trees, I thought, staring at the cliff through panicked eyes. I initially looked at an impassable barrier. Now calmer, confident, and well-fed, I thought I could see that it was more of a steep slope than a sheer wall. And who knows what else is over there. I thought, hiking up square dirt cubes. If I only had clearly I've only thought clearly instead of being such a total dweeb, I wouldn't have trapped myself on this side of the island in the first place. In fact, maybe it wasn't an island after all. Maybe this beach was the start of a whole continent. Don't get me wrong, I hadn't abandoned the notion of this all being a dream, but still, part of me couldn't help wishing over... Oh, I accidentally turned the page. Part of me... Oh my god, I keep losing my freaking place. This is what dyslexia does to you. It is bad. Let's see. Right. Okay. Part of me wanted to remember the top of the hill to see a ranger station or a town or a giant city, or there wasn't. I stood on an even green summit and started the crushing disappointment of the rest of the uninhabited island. The land stretched out like a claw, with two wooded pincers nearly enclosed the round, shallow lagoon. I couldn't judge how large the island was, but by that point, I still wasn't very good at measuring by blocks. But it couldn't have been too big because I could definitely see the end of the under... What? Oh, bleh. I could definitely see the end of it under the late afternoon sun. And with the sinking orange square, so went my spirits as well. Just like in the water, I thought I was alone. Then, just like in the water, I was wrong. Mrrr. The sound made me jump. What? I said, nervously looking around. Who's there? Mrrr. Came the sound again, pulling my eyes to the base of the hill. It was an animal, black and white, and the body as rectangular as its surroundings. I picked my way down the western slope, which was easier and more gradual than the dangerous eastern side, and walked right up to the fearless creature. Studying it more closely, I could see that it wasn't entirely black and white. Gray horns, pink inside the ears, and a pink shallow sac below the stomach. You gotta be a cow, I said. Mrrr. I got was the best sound I heard all day. You don't know how happy I am to see you, I sighed. Hey. I know it's just a dream and all, but it feels good to not be... the word stuck in my throat, stinging at my eyes and nose. Alone. Bah, answered the cow. Wait, what? I stepped closer. Are you bilingual or... Bah. The animal did not... said the animal, but not from the one in front of me. I look up, past the cow, and saw... What'd you see? What do we think he saw? Can we see in chat? What do we think he saw? An animal that goes bah. What do we think he saw? I don't know. It was rectangular, duh, and a little shorter, and practically all black. I almost missed it in the dim light of the evening. Now it approached the darkened woods. Another animal, as white as the clouds above, stepped out behind its black twin. Despite their straight, flat outlines, I could see the barest details of the woolly coats. Your sheep, I said, and reached out to pet one. I wasn't thinking. I didn't mean to punch. The animal yelped, flashed pinkish red, and took off running through the woods. Oh, sorry. I called after. Sorry, little sheep. I felt so bad. I turned to unfazed friend and babbled. I didn't mean it, really. I still don't know how to use this body, you know? Cluck, 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 cluck. Came to my left. Two small birds, each about a block high, were pecking near the ground. They had short, skinny legs, plump bodies covered with white feathers, and short and small heads with orange beaks. I'm not sure if you're chickens, but you kind of have duckish features. And glanced up and they clucked, not cucked. That's a completely different thing. But you sound more like chickens, I continued. So I guess I'll call you chickens. Makes more sense than chickle ducks. The word gave me a chuckle, which quickly became a real guffaw. Guffal? No, Guffaw. I don't know what that word is. Guffaw. It felt good to laugh. I let out all the crazy tension of the day. That's what I heard, a new sound. It was throaty, phlegmy gargle that sent chills up my spine. I looked around and figured the source. Sound on this island, seeming to be coming from every direction. I stood there listening, wishing the chickens would shut up. Then I smelled it, mold and rot, like a diseased rat in old sock. I didn't see the figure until it was only a dozen paces away. At first, I thought it was another person, dressed like me, and I took as an automatic step forward. Then, just as instinctively, I stopped and backed away. The clothes were ragged and filthy. The flesh was molted green. The eyes, if you could call them eyes, were nothing but lifeless black points in a flat, unmoving face. Memories flooded my mind. Imagine a creature I know from stories, but I'd never seen in person, and now here it was, approaching with outstretched arms. This was a zombie. I tried to retreat, bumping against the tree. The zombie closed. I dodged. Rotted fist smashed into my chest, throwing me back. Pain shot through my body. I gasped. I lunged. I fled. Numb with fear, I sprinted. Numb with fear, I sprinted for the hill. I wasn't thinking, wasn't planning. Terror drove my every step. Something clacked in the darkness behind me, followed by noise like whipped air. Something smacked into the tree in front of me. A feather-tipped, quivered arrow. An arrow? Is the zombie armed? I hadn't noticed. I just kept running. Something red flashed to my right. A cluster of eyes followed with a clipped hiss. I scampered up the slope of the hill, glanced back, and when I was at the summit, a pale light of the square moon. I could see that the zombie was still coming. It was already at the bottom of the slope, beginning to climb up. Throat closing in fright, I tore my way down the eastern cliff. I slipped and fell to the bottom and heard a sickening crack. Rrr. I hissed as bolts of agony shoot through my ankle. Where to go? What to do? Should I jump back into the ocean and try to swim away? I froze at the edge of the blackened water. What if the squid was still out there for me? What an idiot. Squids aren't hostile mobs. Let's see. Huh? Why'd the music stop? No, it didn't. Okay. Another moaned echo across the starry night. I turned to see the zombie's head poke over the top of the hill. Frankly, I looked for somewhere to go, someplace to hide. My eyes flicked back and forth, settling on a single block of earth I dug out earlier from the day. From it, I came with a sparkling, desperate idea. Digging. As the zombie started down the slope, I ran to the cliff below it and furiously tore into the earth. 1, 2, 3, 4 punches, and then the first block in front of me came away. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the other one popped free. I could hear a ghoul approaching me, each groan growing louder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I cleared 4 earthen blocks in front of me and 2 below me, just enough to make me squeeze into a space deeper in my mind. Get deeper. And if fate could talk, it would have sneered and said, "You're not going anywhere." My fist bounced off something cold and hard. I hit solid rock. A few pointless punches told me I was trapped, a monster barely seconds away. I spun and saw the monster and set down a block of dirt between us. The ghoul reached over and smashed into my chest. I flew back, hitting the stone cliff, chest aching, gasping for air. I jammed the second soil cube on top of the first. Darkness fell. I was buried alive. My tomb shut out light, but not sound. The zombie's moan still rang into my ears, but could it dig? What if I only delayed my death by seconds? Go away, I helplessly shouted. Please, leave me alone. Please, I pled. Wow. I'm also letting everyone know, I forgot my laptop charger. So if my laptop dies and the stream ends, that's the end of the stream. Jesus. Please, I pled. Unfeeling, uncaring, unstoppable moans answered. Wake up. I gotta wake up, wake up, wake up. In desperation, I started jumping up and down the hill, hitting my head against the ceiling, trying to jolt myself awake. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. I fell back against the stone wall, head throbbing, eyes burning, chest heavy with rapid, pained sobs. Why, I whimpered. Why can't I wake up? And then the zombie barked a deep, violent groan. Because it's not a dream. What? Because it's not a dream. No, the creature wasn't... Okay, the creature wasn't talking to me. I put words in the decayed mouth. The words I knew I needed to hear. This isn't a dream. I imagined hearing from the mobile corpse. And you're not and it's not an injury or hallucination. This is a real place, a real world, and you're going to have to accept that to survive. You're right, I said to the ghoul, knowing I was talking to myself, but still thinking talking to the dead guy is somehow saner. This isn't happening in my head. This is happening. A fragment of my half-remembered song floated through the fog of my amnesia. Something about finding yourself in a strange place. I couldn't remember all the lyrics, but one stuck clearly in my mind. You may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? I don't know, I admitted. I don't know how I got here or even where here is. Another planet, another dimension, I don't know. But I do know there's no point in denying it anymore. And with this acceptance came a new wave of calm. And with this calm, a new mantra. Panic drowns thought. I told the zombie, so it's time to stop panicking and figuring out how to survive. Ooh, that's chapter 2. You know what that means, gang? More lemonade. No, I forgot my charger. So I don't know. I think I only have enough for one more chapter. I'm going to be honest. Maybe we only do a couple of chapters after every fail. I don't know. I don't want to stop. But I forgot the charger. That's my fault. I really thought I brought it. What's my next move? I asked Darkness, given that I was trapped, literally with my back to the wall with snarling corpse just a handful of dirt away. Oh, by the way, this chapter is called Don't Assume Anything. My options seemed pretty limited. For a long while... Hold on, wait. Let me check if I do have a charger. I think I do. I don't know if I do. I'm back. For a long while, I just tried to focus on my breathing, clearing my mind, letting ideas flow. Ironically, the first clear thought I had in my mind was that my breathing might use up all my air. How much did I have? Was I already suffocating? What did a suffocating feel like? I tried to sense any changes in my body, any feelings that weren't there before. And that's when I noticed all my feelings of pain of my injuries were gone. Both my head and ankle felt fine. My stomach, on the other hand, was completely empty. I chomped down another apple, trying to get a sense of what's happening. Am I losing oxygen to my brain, I wondered? Or did I heal super fast? Seriously, am I a superhero? The thought gave me a sudden rush of hope. The zombie groaned. Is that it? I asked the ghoul. Does this world give me hyper healing? Or do the apples or any food do something with it? Another non-committal groan. You don't have to answer, I said. I'll figure it out. Because that's what it takes to survive here, right? With a whole new world with new set of rules, like punching from a distance or a little bag that holds lots of stuff. Deeper breathing brought greater calm, brought greater thinking. I just need to figure out what's what. I stated matter-of-factly, and I'll do that as soon as I bust out of here. On cue, the zombie groaned back. And when I do, you'll be waiting. I'll need some kind of weapon to defend myself. A club or a spear. Or the zombie gave a quick, high-pitched growl, which I haven't heard before. Hey, I said, putting my ear to the dirt. What gives? And had it heard me? Were we having an actual conversation? The harsh growl kept coming, like the creature was reacting to something. I'm sorry, my mom is whisking eggs. Are you okay? I said reflexively. Hey, I'm sorry if talking about weapons hurt your feeling or something, but in all fairness, you're trying to kill me, so... Halfway through my babbling, I noticed the sounds were gone. Hello? I called out to silence. I thought I could smell something deep in the dirt. Smoke? Was the zombie building a fire outside my hole and trying to smoke me out? Could zombies do that? I had to know. Sitting out here meant dying of smoke inhalation, and I had to take my chances out in the open. Heart pounding, I knocked the dirt cube out in front of my face and blinked hard at the light of the square of the morning sun. I couldn't see the zombie anymore, but still smelled the stench of rotting. Now mixed with strong scent of smoke, I tore out the second block and cautiously stepped into the beach. I looked at the clump. I looked right, I looked left, I looked down, and wrinkled my nose. A chunk of putrid meat was hovering at my feet. I picked it up nervously and winced at the utter grossness. The fringes were charred like a burnt burger, and I didn't need to ask about where that smoky smell had come from. I darted across the sand, thinking it was a trap, and the zombie might be waiting on the hill above me. Ooh, it's being weird. It wasn't. The coast, literally, was clear. Hey, dead dude, I shouted, holding up a hunk of rot. You forget yourself? Oh, the battery is almost dead. I'm gonna finish this chapter. And this punishment is not over. Where was I? I waited a tense moment, hoping the chunk's owner wouldn't come slouching back over that hill. It didn't. This bit of burnt grog guts had to be all that was left. But why? The sun didn't delay any. Didn't. But didn't daylight only kill vampires? Maybe in my world, but I said to the chunk, we're not in my world, and I can't assume anything. I just had to say that. My eyes fell. Dude, dyslexia sucks. Oh my god. I just had to say that my eyes fell onto my small cliffside hidey hole. Specifically, I noticed a 2-block long, 1-block wide ceiling of dirt. Why hadn't it collapsed on top of me? What was holding it up? I went back into the hole and punched 2 earthen blocks above my head and then moving away so it wouldn't land on me. I put them right into place. They stuck. Cool, I smiled with a sudden urge of confidence. Other than hyper healing, the ability to stick dirt blocks onto each other was a huge advantage in this world, which means I could build a shelter without nails or cement or whatever keeps houses up. That's assuming, of course, that there would be a natural sanctuary waiting for somewhere out where hikes. I hiked up top of the hill and scanned the entire length of the island, checking the north and south slopes to be sure there was. Just to be sure. Then heaved a heavy sigh of disappointment. There was no cave, no hole, no move-in right fortress. I noticed the cow, 2 of them actually grazing at the bottom of the western slope, munching and mooing their heart's content. Well, I called down to their eyes fixed on the trees. At least I was right about the sun chasing those monsters away. The light had definitely banished whatever has been lurking in the woods the night before. But where had they gone? And for what matter, where had they come from? Did they walk out from the sea at dusk and crawl out on the ground like some cheesy horror film? I'd probably know sooner or later than... Wait, I'd probably know a lot sooner than I wanted to, even though dawn had hardly been a few minutes ago. The sun was already halfway to noon. How short are the days here, I asked. I asked the contented cows. I answered, short enough. Time to stop wasting time. Thanks, I said sarcastically, then turned to climb down back. Oh my god, and then turned to climb back down what I was now calling Disappointment Hill. For the moment, I hesitated, wondering if I should build a signal fire. Isn't that what people do when marooned on an island? Maybe, but I had no idea how to do it. What I did know how to do, whatever, was dig, using nothing but my hands to punch dirt and spell out the word help. Maybe a low-flying airplane or a high-flying satellite would see it. Although, I thought, something came along. It was clinging to the idea that somebody would swoop in and save me. That is all I had to do, was last a night or two until they did. I might have accepted that this was a whole new world, but I didn't stop to consider what that really meant. I would though, later, when I got myself lost at sea again. But I'm getting ahead of myself. With a watchful eye on the sun, I trudged back down to the eastern slope and thought about building a dirt hut out of the hole in the cliff. Okay. My computer is about to die. So, this punishment will continue soon. I want to thank everyone for joining me. I want to thank everyone. I know this hasn't been the longest stream. It's been about an hour. We will continue this another day. Thank you.